Hi, everyone. My name is Kristina Robinson. I'm a software engineering manager at InfluxDB, and today I'm going to be talking to you visualizing your timestamp data from InfluxDB using Giraffe. Let's go. First of all, what is InfluxDB? InfluxDB is a time series platform. It's open source, scalable analytics engine to accumulate, analyze, and act on real-time data. We have client-server libraries to ingest data, including JavaScript, Go, Python, and other databases, as well as a lot more. We have almost 200 libraries now. What is the characteristic of time series data? Basically, it's timestamp data. It can be generated in regular intervals, such as metrics, or irregular time periods, such as events. We have really high volumes, and the data is most valuable in its real-time version. So it's time sensitive. After 30 days, the data may not be relevant anymore. What is Giraffe? Giraffe is a charting mapping software that's customized for InfluxDB. It's a JavaScript library. It uses the React framework. It's also open source and available in a GitHub repository. It takes annotated CSV as input. Why? Because that's the output from InfluxQL and Flux queries, which is our own customized version of how we query the database. It's streamable, and basically it's like your typical CSV data, but it has some headers at the top. It has group, dataset, and default. Group contains entries of true, false that tells you whether or not the data has been grouped and by what category. Dataset describes each type of the data. And then there's the result set, which is your traditional CSV values. Why would you want to use Giraffe? Well, it powers the visualizations of the InfluxDB dashboard and Data Explorer in all of our versions. That includes our original open source version, our enterprise version, as well as our newest cloud version. Developers can reuse the visualizations that you create within InfluxDB in external applications, such as websites, phone apps, or other custom applications. So let's take a look at what Giraffe looks like. We can produce band charts, gauges, graphs with a single stat overlaid, a heat map, histogram, scatter, just a plain old single stat, as well as table. And we have some more visualizations that are going to be coming up soon. Let's take a look at the basics of Giraffe. First of all, you have to get your data into Giraffe. This is annotated CSV, as I mentioned earlier. There's two ways of getting that in. The first is by using what's called a Flux query. You basically will use REST API in whatever language you like, because we have over 200 libraries, and you can write your Flux and get the data back. Or if you don't want to mess with REST APIs, we actually have a JavaScript client that's specifically written, and it takes care of a lot of the shortcuts for you. Then we talk about the basics of the visualization. First of all, there's the base entity, which is called the plot. This is what you'll import into your React code. Next, we have a prop for plot, and that prop contains the CSV data itself that you're going to pass in, as well as a layers object. The layers object, which is basically a property of config, allows you to specify which plot type it is and all of its properties. So let's take a look at some of the examples. Here is where you would import the plot from Giraffe. Next, you would have to deal with your data. This is using our JavaScript library, so it takes care of some of the hard work for you. Next, you'll have to define your prop object config. This is where you pass in the data and you pass in the object layers. Lastly, you have the layers object, which will tell you what type of plot this is. In this case, we're using an example of a line plot, so we have to have the type of line. We have an X value, which is characterized against all the time values, and the Y axis, which is against all of your values. Finally, you'll actually render the plot. Here's the plot, and here's your prop config. You can call Giraffe from a lot of different external applications. Any React or JavaScript application can use Giraffe, and we've provided sample codes in our GitHub library that will allow you to see how to use multiple plot types. You can also test Giraffe straight through an HTML page. This requires no React or JavaScript installation in the development environment. We also have sample code for this. Finally, Giraffe does not support server-side rendering at this point. We've had a lot of requests for it, and it's on our to be coming soon. So that's basically using, in a nutshell, Giraffe. And I also have at the end of my presentation all the links that I've referenced: our GitHub repo, our quick start guide, some design demos, the listing of the code samples, and more information about annotated CSV. All these will be available in the deck provided. We also have all the different plot types I referenced for your information. And that's it. Thanks for listening.